Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn. Welcome to Sports Night in Auburn.
And welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn.
Sitting around with your friends and surfing through your phone's camera roll, watching all your old memories never fails to entertain. Time is moving fast, and the great moments are moving right along with it. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. My name is Vince Wolfram. With all that has happened in Auburn sports in the last week, if I brought up Auburn and Ole Miss's second meeting of the season in men's college basketball, it feels like you would have had to scroll back a little bit, doesn't it? Well, to my surprise and yours, it was only just 1 week ago. After weeks of cold shooting at home in Neville Arena, the nation's #1 switched the ice for the heat in this one. Auburn had 5 players finish in double figures, and Eagle Eye had 1 player on the floor to tell us more about the matchup between the Tigers and the Rebels. What happened in this game, Cavanagh?
In their second-to-last home game of the season, led by seniors Joleigh Broome and Chad Baker-Mazara with over 20 points each, the Auburn Tigers handled the Ole Miss Rebels.
They were locked in. They recognized this as the second last home game in Neville Arena this year. This was the second to last time our fans are going to be able to see them up close and personal and just enjoy the quality of their play. And I think that created a bit of a sense of urgency.
That sense of urgency was definitely felt in the first half, with Auburn leading the Rebels by at least 22 points at one point. Led by Joleigh Broome with 16 points in the first half, Miles Kelly and Chad Baker-Mazara also factored into this large lead, with Miles Kelly going 3 for 4 from beyond the arc and Chad Baker-Mazara having 12 points of his own in the first half.
Chad shot confidently. Denver shot confidently. Miles shot confidently. Chad Baker gets off to a phenomenal start. I just think that the pieces, there's just some really special pieces. You know, Joleigh was dominant on the inside. I love our shooting percentages. I thought that we just shot the ball and shared it. We shot it and shared it. And as a result, we put up a pretty big number.
The second half was not too much of a different story. Auburn outscored the Ole Miss Rebels 56-36 in the second half. Chad Baker-Mazara was the leading scorer in the second half with 10 points of his own, including these back-to-back triples. That led Auburn to a 30-point victory over Ole Miss, 106-76.
Just non-existent defense from Ole Miss. It's not just the players, it's everybody in the program. I think you give Auburn credit. Very, very difficult to guard when they're making shots like they were.
30-point win for the Tigers. They hope to keep that momentum going when they travel to Lexington to take on number 17 Kentucky, a place where Auburn has not won since 1988. Joleigh, Cavanagh, Eagle Eye TV.
During Wednesday night's game, Joleigh Broome did something that only 85 other players have ever done in the history of NCAA Division I college basketball. He reached the 2,500 career points mark with a bucket against the Rebels. 2,500 points for the big fella. That's pushing legendary stuff there, mister. And from one of the best players to one of the best venues in all of college basketball. Auburn's next matchup, Rupp Arena against Mark Pope and Kentucky. Bruce Pearl was yet to battle a Mark Pope-led Kentucky program, so this was the first of hopefully many highly touted games between these two coaches at these two programs. I don't know many people that expected Kentucky to get flattened. Well, expect the unexpected, I guess. And Miles Kelly, BBN, is the one to blame. Kelly scored a season-high 30 points at Rupp Arena. Of the 10 shots he made, 9 of them were from behind the arc. He was unconscious from land, and the backboard got a Venmo request. Back-to-back threes within 19 seconds that Kelly made off the glass. He was ready for payday. He was the head of the snake for Auburn, with Chad Baker-Mazara and Tahad Pettiford helping the snake get 3 heads, as each of them had 20-plus points. Final from Lexington, 94-78. Auburn's first win in Lexington at Rupp Arena since 1988. 37 years without a win there, and this team made it happen. It was the third game Auburn had won in its 54 contests at Kentucky all time, and it snapped a 20-game losing streak at Rupp. The celebration didn't just end there, though. With the win and with the help of Tennessee beating Alabama, Auburn clinched the 2025 SEC regular season championship. Think resume here for this program. Auburn now has won regular season titles in 2018, 2022, and now 2025 with SEC tournament championships in 2019 and 24. Bruce Pearl believes that winning the regular season championship should, quote, put some wind in our sails. We love winning over here, but I bet my mortgage that nobody loves or knows winning better than Auburn center Dylan Cardwell. After beating Kentucky on Saturday, Cardwell has now become the winningest player in Auburn basketball program history. Saturday was his 115th career victory, passing his former teammate Jalen Williams, Mr. Jumbotron Man, to Mr. History Books. Congratulations, Dylan. As another week dawned, another AP poll appeared, and this week, with no shock to anyone, Auburn remained at the top of the national rankings for the 8th straight week. That program record is going to be a tough one for any future Auburn hoop groups to try and break. What was standing in the Tigers' way next? A team full of Aggies from College Station. Buzz Williams and number 22 Texas A&M were next on the schedule for Auburn. Another ranked team awaited the Tigers, and this time the result may surprise you. After a tough start defensively for Auburn with no Denver Jones certainly hurting them, Texas A&M bolted out to an early lead, and quite literally, they never looked back. Auburn never led in the game, and on the boards, the Tigers looked like the Parker Hall Math Building on Auburn's campus because they were getting demolished. A&M had 24 rebounds to Auburn's 9, and the Aggies outdid Auburn by a lot in the second chance points category. A&M would go on to win the game 83-72, ending Auburn's win streak at 6 games. This was Texas A&M's first ever win over a ranked number 1 team in the AP poll, which honestly surprised me. Auburn got punched in the mouth, and head coach Bruce Pearl recognized that in his post-game press conference.
Congratulate Coach Williams and Texas A&M. It's been a tough matchup for us. Been a tough matchup for me. Buzz does a great job, and systems do match up with each other, and the things that they do bother us a little bit. They do a great job of driving downhill. They do a great job, one-on-one attacking closeouts. They do a great job one-on-one in the post and attacking, and they just physically dominated us. You look at the boards. They get 24 offensive rebounds. We get 16 defensive rebounds. They physically manhandled us, and if this team is going to continue to win, we're going to run up against teams like Texas A&M, or like Florida, or like Duke, that are big and physical. And now, earlier in the year, we beat Houston, we beat Iowa State. Those teams were also pretty physical, but Texas A&M's physicality obviously dominated the game tonight.
I want to bring in Micah Farmer here to talk about this one. First, Micah, plenty to talk about, right? In a game that felt like nearly everything went in the opposite way of Auburn. What did you see about the disappointing Tigers' performance last night?
Well, I'll tell you what I didn't see, and that was Denver Jones. And I think this game proved the value of Denver Jones for this Auburn team, missing your main facilitator, missing your main perimeter defender, and Auburn struggled. There were a lot of turnovers on offense, huge struggle to rebound the basketball, especially the offensive rebounds. And then late in the game, as Auburn tried to claw its way back into this one, just the desperation kind of took over, missing that senior point guard leader that Denver Jones is. And I think this game should give the entire nation and this Auburn team a ton of respect for Denver Jones. He does look to be one of the key pieces for this team. As for the team overall, need to play better on the boards. Don't get out of control when you get down. Fight back, stay composed. I think it'll prove to make big improvements in the future.
Yeah, Jones certainly that missing puzzle piece for Auburn, and they missed him last night. And I guess one good takeaway from a loss like that, there is more basketball to play. And even better news, for Auburn, it's against your rival in your home gym. On Saturday, Auburn, Alabama, they'll take the floor at Neville Arena. The last time these two met, Micah, an instant classic in Tuscaloosa. Number 1 versus number 2, and Auburn emerged victorious in a 94-85 win. Round 2 this time, Micah. What are you looking at in this one?
Well, I'm looking at an Alabama team that wants to get its lick back. And Aiden Holloway coming back into the jungle for the first time since transferring to Alabama. You have Mark Sears coming back to Neville Arena. This should be an absolutely incredible game. I think that this favors Auburn. I think the matchup favors Auburn overall. Auburn can score in multiple different ways. They have the strong defense. Denver Jones expected to be back for this game. And then you look down low, the size advantage Auburn has with Johni Broome and Dylan Cardwell versus Grant Nelson for Alabama means that if you can play perimeter defense and lock down Mark Sears, Aiden Holloway like Denver Jones did last time in Tuscaloosa, the game down low for Alabama is really going to be all they have left because they don't take mid-range shots. And then I think the size can really benefit you down there. So I would expect Auburn to come out on top to end the regular season.
Very true. That could very well be the shakeup. After the season finale in Neville Arena on Saturday comes the SEC tournament. Auburn has the regular season locked up, which means Bruce Pearl and his group will have the #1 seed and tip off next Friday. Plenty of other matchups between the SEC's 16 teams will happen prior to Auburn's conference tournament opener. Micah, which team in this loaded conference, one of the best SECs ever, would you consider dangerous to face in SEC tourney play?
Well, Vince, the two teams I really don't want to see as an Auburn student here are Missouri and Tennessee. Those are two teams you beat in the regular season but are playing great basketball right now. Anytime Caleb Grill gets hot for Missouri, that team jumps to a different level, becomes extremely dangerous. Chaz Lanier is playing really well for Tennessee right now as well. They've been on a bit of a roll recently. And then one of the sleepers on that will be playing in that first set of games is Vanderbilt. They've taken down a lot of big teams this season, gave Auburn a little bit of a scare in Nashville earlier this year. I think the Commodores may be a sleeper to watch out for. But I'm going to bring you back in here, Vince. There are two teams that Auburn lost to in the regular season of SEC play, Florida and A&M. For Florida, it was the Gators' red-hot offense, and then for A&M, the physical defensive play. Do you think Auburn wants to see either of those two teams to get a lick back, and how would you feel about a potential rematch?
Yeah, certainly. I think Auburn wants both teams. That's how the mojo of this team has been built. I think especially Florida, though, because Florida came in to Neville Arena, and the atmosphere was what it was, and Auburn faltered in that game and let Florida dominate. So I think that's a game that's kind of been circled in terms of what Auburn wants to happen. So hopefully, I think the guys think that they get another lick at Florida, but we'll see. I think either team is dangerous. I thought Auburn just didn't have the legs under them like they usually had last night in College Station. So we shall see. What do you think?
I would be very much looking forward to either one of those games. I would love another chance at Florida. I would like Auburn's chances in another matchup versus Texas A&M. And overall, like you mentioned, absolutely stacked SEC tournament field this season. Probably going to be the best conference tournament we see this season before March Madness truly gets underway with the NCAA tournament. I'm ready for it.
Yeah, retweet to that, Micah. Thank you, sir. We'll hear a little bit more from you later. It's the month of March, and we are letting the madness begin. I don't know about you, but the winds in Auburn took my Wi-Fi out last night mid-game, and I need to know if that's going to happen anymore this month. If it does, we may have an issue, and I definitely know who I'm going to call. Albert Osorio with your weather update next here on Sports Night at Auburn.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. I'm Albert Osorio, back to give you your weather outlook for this week. Although camping for Saturday's big men's basketball game against Alabama did not start until today at 4 p.m., the reason for this was because there were some severe thunderstorms last night. However, it will look mostly better going into the weekend when baseball plays Old Dominion on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, while women's tennis plays Texas A&M on Friday and Texas on Sunday. There will be mostly cloudy skies with highs around 62 and lows down to around 40. There will be a chance of some showers Saturday evening and Sunday, so be prepared for a possible weather delay and bundle up. That's all I have for your weather today. When we come back, we will swing it over to baseball. Once again, I'm Albert Osorio, and you're watching Sports Night in Auburn.
Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. You know, every episode on this program is special, unique, and awesome in its own way. When you've got a great boss that wants to get in on that fun, you let her get in on that fun. Station manager Sydney Babb is in the lineup today, and Gary Gesch is on deck too. First, Giancarlo Kegan Miller Stanton has all things Auburn baseball for us. Kegan, take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Vince. I've been hitting the gym. I'm glad you noticed. Auburn's baseball has been on a roll, however, winning 10 games in a row, and even against some key teams in the college baseball landscape. So let's break down how they got here from the last time I saw y'all. It started way back last Tuesday when Sanford came to town. Freshman Andreas Alvarez got his second start of the year and got hit around a little bit early in the ballgame, leading to a short stint. But what seems to be the theme of this year's team, when either the pitching or hitting is a little off that night, the other side is right there to pick them up. That's what happened in the 15-8 win over Sanford. Auburn's bats took the pressure off the bullpen with Chris Rember and Eric Snow leading the way with 7 RBIs between the two of them. Then Auburn took a trip to the Amagi Bank College Baseball Series in Arlington for some big-time ball Friday. They shut out Ohio State 13-0. Sam Dutton outs together his third quality start, And well, the best start of his career, fanning 9 and allowing just 3 base runners. The very next day, they faced their toughest opponent yet, number 8 Oregon State. And you guessed it, they won again, this time 8-7. Again, Chris Rimber led the way for the Tigers offense, having 2 RBI double and 2 RBI blast. The last day of the tournament, the Tigers faced Baylor, winning 7-4. Freshman Christian Chatterson got his first win of the year, giving up only 1 run, a shutout shot to his very first batter. But after shaking that mistake off, he went on to punch out 9 Bears. Now, I've mentioned Chris Rimber a few times already, but that's because he has been on a whole nother level as of late. It was just named back-to-back SEC Freshman of the Week. Last week alone, Rimber hit 385 and slugged 1,000 with 10 RBIs. Now, this is a normal-sized baseball. This is what they were trying to hit from 60 feet back at around 85-plus miles an hour. It's not very big. However, this is what Chris Rimber is trying to hit right now. This is what he's seeing at the plate. And I don't know if the camera is picking this up, but this ball is way bigger than this ball, at least 3 times as big, I'm going to guess. So it's great, great feeling when this is what you're seeing at the plate and not this. But the question is, can Auburn continue this level of success? We will find out soon enough. They are playing right now against UAB, currently losing 3-4, but Cooper McMurray does have 2 home runs already tonight in the 6th inning. And pro tip, with this weekend when you're watching Old Dominion, be on the lookout to hear Chase Fralick's name a lot. Kid has been swinging a great stick as of late. And another pro tip, Sydney Babb has some awesome tips for softball.
Thank you, Kegan. Auburn softball knocked it out of the park this week with a sweep through all 5 of their games. The Lady Tigers spent the weekend at home at Jane B. Memorial, starting with a doubleheader on Friday. Auburn's first game of the day was against Rutgers. S.J. Jaron pitched a total of 4 innings with 5 outs, 1 walk, and 0 runs, leading the Tigers to a 5-0 victory. In Auburn's second game of the day against McNeese State, things took a slower start, with Auburn not scoring until about the bottom of the 3rd game. It seems that was all the Lady Tigers needed for a takeover, though, ending the game with a 10-6 victory on Friday night. Saturday's doubleheader had the Tigers facing Louisiana and once again McNeese State. Auburn got the lead early in the game with 2 runs in the first inning. Despite Louisiana tying the score once, Auburn held strong and defeated the Ragin' Cajuns 6-3. Facing McNeese State for the second time in the weekend, Auburn pitcher Chaley Clemens held McNeese scoreless for the first 4 innings, and Analyst Adams hit a home run to put Auburn's first score on the board. Auburn had their 4th win of the weekend and 2nd against McNeese, ending the game 3-1. Finally, ending that weekend on Sunday with their 2nd game against Louisiana, Auburn started off strong with 3 runs in the first inning, leading them to a 4-3 win and completing their weekend sweep. Auburn softball will play again on Wednesday, competing against Troy before heading into conference play with Mississippi State this weekend. Now to Gehrig for some track and field.
Auburn track and field continued their hot momentum right into the SEC championships in College Station this past week. After big-time runs and throws, 7 Tigers earned themselves all SEC honors. Seniors Kyle Brown and Adrian Adams, as well as junior Azim Fahmy, were named to the All-SEC 3rd team for their performances at the conference meet. Israel Ocon and Brenda Jeptricher were awarded 2nd team honors. Ocon won silver in the 60-meter dash, and Jeptricher finished 2nd in the 5K. And claiming gold in all SEC honors at the SEC championships was Micah Charamba and Jacoby Tharp. We've been talking about them all season, and they continued their stretch of dominance. Charamba bested his 200-meter time to a 20.13, moving him up to number 7 in the world for the indoor event. Tharp broke the facility record and program record in the 60-meter hurdles, running a 7.48 to top the podium. Overall, a great week for the Tigers in College Station as they get ready for indoor nationals starting Friday, March 14th. Now enough horsing around, let's get over to Sydney for equestrian.
Auburn Equestrian had a celebratory weekend with Senior Day and an 11-8 win against longtime rival Georgia. Number 1 Auburn took on number 7 Georgia for their final home meet of the season. It was a tight matchup with both teams riding 5-5 following flat and raining. But the Auburn Tigers pulled forward with horsemanship and fences, going 6-3-1. 8 seniors were honored during Senior Day: Genevieve Alstead, Caitlin Ferguson, Ellie Faringo, Mary Grace Seggers, Alexis Seaton, Sophie Steckbeck, Sarah Wren, and Victoria Zimber. Auburn will close out its regular season on the road with a trip to Dallas, competing against SMU on Friday and Texas A&M on Saturday.
Women's basketball closed out their conference campaign this week. In the midweek game, the Tigers traveled up to Athens to take on the Georgia Bulldogs in Stegman Coliseum. Deanna Gasson had another monster performance, putting up 26 points. Her big day ultimately would not be enough to put the Tigers on top as the Dogs closed the game on a 13-3 run to win 62-59. And in their final SEC game, Auburn returned to Neville Arena to host Mississippi State on Senior Day. Once again, it was Gaston who did the heavy lifting, scoring half of Auburn's 66 points. That's right, she had 33. The Tigers faltered in the second half once again, though, as the Bulldogs went on to win 73-66. Reporter Brett Fouts was at the game. Check it out.
The Auburn women's basketball team looked to snap a 5-game losing streak as they hosted Mississippi State for senior night. After the senior night festivities honoring Bayana Gaston, Marshawn Bostic, Taylon Collins, and Celia Sumbane, it was time for basketball. The Tigers got off to a hot start, leading 17-9 after the first quarter, and Auburn coach Johnny Harris had high praises for her two seniors early.
Yeah, I thought Marshawn came in and she was focused and ready to go. I thought she was really good. She was talking, getting people where they needed to be, finding the mismatches, finding the right reads. Deanna always shows up, and she's just tough. She's a tough matchup.
Gaston scored 18 of her 33 points, and Auburn forced 14 turnovers in the first half as the Tigers took a 31-24 lead into halftime. However, the second half was all Bulldogs. Mississippi State started the third quarter on a 10-0 run and wouldn't relinquish the lead for the rest of the game.
We've been talking about, at punch first, having a good start. We have to have a good start, but we also have to have a good finish. We have to keep punching, not just punch first. You have to continue to punch, keep swinging. And that's our message to them is you have to keep swinging, and you have to dig in a little bit harder and find a little bit more so that we can come out on the victory. We've been close in a lot of games, and it's just a little bit more effort. They just need to sell out, give us everything you have, and let's see what happens.
Mississippi State would go on to win 73-66. Auburn finished the regular season with a 12-17 record, including going 3 of 13 in conference. Auburn would play Florida in the first round of the SEC Women's Tournament at 7:30 on Thursday, March the 6th. For Eagle Eye TV, I'm Brett Fouts.
Two Tigers earned all SEC honors for their outstanding seasons. Yu-Ting Dang, who joined the Tigers in January, was named to the All-SEC freshman team. Deanna Gaston landed her name on the All-SEC second team list. Her 5 games with over 30 points is the most in a season by any Auburn player. Postseason play begins tonight for Coach Johnny Harris's squad. They enter the SEC tournament as the number 14 seed and will take on the Florida Gators. Tip-off is slated for 7:30 p.m. Now we'll throw it back to the desk where Vince has an update on Auburn's head football coach. Vince?
Thank you, Gehrig. I appreciate you. Before we head to break, we do have an update from Auburn's football program. The school announced on Friday that head coach Hugh Freeze was recently diagnosed with an early form of prostate cancer. He is expected to make a full recovery and will continue his normal coaching duties and responsibilities while undergoing treatment. The university released a statement on Freeze saying, quote, "Thankfully it was detected early and his doctors have advised that it is a very treatable and curable case. Coach Freeze is incredibly appreciative of all of our medical professionals and has asked that we use his experience as a reminder of the importance of prioritizing and scheduling annual health screenings." Thoughts and prayers go to Hugh Freeze and his family. The Tigers are set to commence their spring practice on March 25th. We will be right back. Welcome back to Sports Night in Auburn. Golf, gym, swim, and Tim. That's what we have next here. Gehrig and Sydney are holding down all of it. G-Man, Gehrig, you've been tuned with Auburn Gymnastics since the start of this season, and last Friday in Neville Arena was a tough one.
It was tough, Vince. Number 11 Auburn Gymnastics took on number 1 Oklahoma this past Friday. Some injuries and a shorthanded lineup did the Tigers no favors, though, as they could not get past the top-ranked Sooners. They would fall 197.925 to 196.9. The Tigers found most of their success on beam, where 4 gymnasts scored a 9.85 or better. Eagle Eye's Vivian Kennell was at the top-ranked meet. Here it is.
A top 15 showdown inside Neville Arena as number 11 Auburn took on the top-ranked Oklahoma in a high-energy battle on the mat. The Tigers, down a few key gymnasts, fought hard but couldn't overcome the Sooners, falling 197.925 to 196.9. Auburn Auburn started strong on vault with freshman Sophia Bell leading the charge, sticking a 9-9 to pace Auburn's 49.2 event score. Oklahoma answered back on bars where Faith Torres delivered a nearly flawless routine, scoring a 9.95 to help the Sooners take on an early lead. Auburn's beam lineup showed resilience with Gabby McLaughlin anchoring a 9.925, keeping the Tigers within striking distance. The Sooners extended their lead on vault, highlighted by freshman Elle Miller's near-perfect Yurchenko 1.5, earning a career-best 9.975. Torres kept the momentum rolling on the floor, nailing her double layout to score another 9.95 and keep Oklahoma comfortably ahead. The Sooners sealed the win on beam, where Jordan Bowers put together a stellar routine, earning a 9.95 to cap off her all-around title with a 39.675. Final score from Neville Arena, Oklahoma 197.925, Auburn 196.9. The Tigers will next face number 8 Missouri Sunday at noon. Reporting for Eagle Eye TV, I'm Vivian Kennell.
Head coach Jeff Graba and his team will hit the road again this weekend as they get ready to travel up to number 8 Missouri on Sunday afternoon. The meet against Mizzou will be the second to last SEC meet on the schedule for Auburn. Now let's swing it over to Sydney for some news on men's golf.
Men's golf brought home yet another victory for the Auburn Tigers this weekend. Number 2 Auburn competed in the Southern Highlands Collegiate in Las Vegas this weekend. They finished 9 under 855 to take home top honors, making them the only team to compete in the tournament under par. 4 of the 5 men competing for Auburn finished in the top 15, with Carson Baca finishing second. Men's golf will have a bit of a break until March 16th for the General Hacker Championship in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Auburn women's golf just closed out a big week at the Darius Rucker Intercollegiate. The tournament has been plagued by rain and wind, but the Tigers have fought well through it. As a team, Auburn finished 8th overall in a stacked field of 17 teams with a 3-day score of plus 32. On the individual side, redshirt junior Karis Warby put in 3 strong rounds to finish in solo 7th. Warby shot 1 under, 2 over, and 1 over for a tournament total of plus 2. The number 20 Tigers will now shift their focus to the Old Barnwell Derby Match Play Tournament on March 17th. Staying in the swing of things, let's send it over to Sydney for more on men's tennis.
Men's tennis had a big weekend, starting with their SEC home opener on Friday against Vanderbilt, winning 4-3. Winning doubles points and 3 singles victories from Will Nolan, Nicholas Hang, and Billy Blades. This win against Vanderbilt marked the Tigers' first win in conference play. Later on Saturday, the Tigers competed against Georgia and Tennessee State and continued their win streak with a 4-1 victory on Georgia and a 4-0 shutout against Tennessee State. Just today, Nicholas Hang was awarded SEC Player of the Week after his performance over the weekend. Men's tennis is now 10-4 overall and 2-2 in conference play, increasing their at-home winning streak in the process. The Tigers will travel to Texas for the rest of the week, competing against number 12 Texas A&M on Thursday and number 4 Texas on Saturday. Sounds like a lot of barbecue.
6th-ranked women's tennis featured twice this week as they took on number 2 Georgia and South Carolina. Both away from home, it ended up being a 2-game stretch that the team will hope to flush away quickly as they fell in both matches. The Bulldogs triumphed 5-2 and the Gamecocks won 4-2. It's a quick turnaround for the Tigers as they will host 2 ranked sides from the state of Texas. The Texas A&M Aggies come to the Yarborough Tennis Center Friday evening, and the Texas Longhorns will follow on Sunday. Now back to Sydney, who's ready to dive into some more swim and dive news up.
Auburn men's and women's swim and dive had 2 top 10 swims this weekend at the Last Chance Invite, setting them up for the NCAA championships. Elizaveta Klavanovich and Audrey Crawford both had record-breaking times in the 100 free and 200 breast on Friday. Then on Saturday, freshman Julia Strojanowska finished the 200 free as a top 10 performer. 7 Auburn swimmers and 4 relay alternates will compete in the women's NCAA swimming and diving championship. But before that, Auburn will host the Zone B diving championships this Sunday and the following Wednesday.
Former Auburn baseball legend and pitching coach Tim Hudson was inducted into the Georgia Sports Hall of Fame last week. Hudson competed for 17 years as a major leaguer, spending 9 of those pitching for the Atlanta Braves. In his career, he racked up 222 wins and over 3,000 innings pitched. A truly deserving man for the honor. Congratulations, Tim Hudson.
That was a fun block there. We had barbecue, Darius Rucker, and a lot of good sports. Can't beat it. Sounds like it's going to be a great weekend. Before we head to break, we are going to do some basketball trivia. What Big 12 team has Auburn men's basketball never lost to? Ever? A, Texas Tech. B, West Virginia. C, Arizona. Or D, Kansas State. Don't guess A. You'll be wrong. Just telling you now. I'll have the answer when you come back. If you picked A, I hope you second guessed it. We've got the answer to the trivia question we left you with before the break. What Big 12 team has Auburn men's basketball literally never lost to? The answer? Letter C, Arizona. Auburn men's basketball had its non-conference schedule juiced up this year, and it seems as though there are no signs of slowing down that juicer. Auburn is 2-0 all-time against Arizona in both the 2018 Maui Invitational and the first round of the 1986 NCAA tournament. Auburn just signed a home-and-home series with the Arizona Wildcats. Next season, the game will be played in Tucson on December 6th, and the following season, Arizona will visit Auburn. Fun fact, Bronny James was on the USC team when Auburn had that West Coast home-and-home in play. This time, Bronny's younger brother, Bryce, who has committed to Arizona, will compete against the Tigers. Next up, maybe LeBron will commit to Auburn. Who knows? On the note of La NBA, Micah is back now with a quick pro basketball update from Auburn's former Hoopers.
Yeah, Vince, starting off with Walker Kessler. He put up 25 points and 14 rebounds in the Jazz's game against the Kings. However, since they're the Jazz, they still got blown out, lost by almost 20, because that's how it goes.
Right.
Then JT Thor was picked up off of waivers by the Washington Wizards, which they are kind of an NBA team, so he's kind of back. Was previously released by the Cleveland Cavaliers. That is a two-way contract to the Wizards for JT Thor.
Good to see Walker Kessler back in the domination column. That's good stuff. Now, let's switch leagues. NBA to NFL now. Micah's NFL draft birthday was last weekend in Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium, with the NFL Combine. 4 Auburn Tigers attended the scout-heavy event, hoping to show out and earn their spot in the eyes of an NFL team that needs some certified dudes, Micah.
Yeah, Vince, Combine is one of my favorite times every year. Love tuning in Indianapolis. And this year there were 4 Auburn players in Indy. Jarquez Hunter, the running back, receiver Keandre Lambert-Smith, and the 2 linebackers, Eugene Asante and Jalen McLeod. Starting off with Jarquez, tested pretty well in the athletic stuff, a little bit undersized as expected, but the 40 was still great. The on-field drills looked good as well. I think did himself a world of good there. Although the Auburn player that I think improved his draft stock the most was not Eugene Asante, who also tested well, but it was Keandre Lambert-Smith, who clocked in at 4.37 on the 40. And for a player who's one of his big concerns was his long speed by some NFL guys, I think that's going to go a long way to improving where his name is called come April. Just mentioned Eugene Asante had an athletic score grade of 86, the best of any linebacker at the Combine. Also did well in the on-field drills. I think he did himself a world of good as well. Then finally, Jalen McLeod did not do any athletic testing, but looked solid in the on-field drills and measured in at a respectable height and weight for a rotational NFL edge rusher. But overall, I think a solid showing from each of the 4 Auburn guys, and looking forward to see where they each hear their name called come April in the NFL draft.
Definitely. It's going to be a fun month for those guys. We actually did an Eagle Eye 40-yard dash here. Gesch ran a 4.42. So just be ready for him at the next level. Now is the best time, the best segment, and Sydney Babb, it's your lucky day. This is Trending Tigers. We're excited.
I'm so excited. I've never gotten to do this
Let's
before.
do it. But this is Trending Tigers. After men's basketball, walked out of Rupp Arena on Saturday with a win. Dylan Cardwell, Chaney Johnson, Chris Moore hopped in the studio. Not this amazing studio, but my studio being the camera and microphone that I brought to Lexington.
Naturally.
Let's check it out.
Okay, big chopper deal and the team mislit. You just know we won the ship. I'm talking about the championship of the SEC. We is the #1 team, been #1 for a very long time. March here, so you know we gotta grind. We put in work, it's our time. March Madness, yeah, we finna shine.
Sydney Babb, how awesome is that? Big chop a dill on the beat.
Honestly, what's most impressive to me is that they just played an entire game, and then they come back with that much energy after. I don't know how they do it.
Easily 2 wins, and I also think they might have a second career coming up.
No, if you're watching this show right now and you work for a record label, you should be on the phone. I don't know what you're doing.
Don't call God, call them.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I don't think there's a better way to literally drop the mic on this show than that. That's all the time we have for this episode of Sports Night in Auburn. Make sure to follow our Eagle Eye TV Sports Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube page as well. For this group, our producer JoJo Cavanagh, I'm Vince Wolfram, and now I'm going to give Dylan a run for his money here.
Okay.
You ready?
Okay.
The show is done.
Okay.
The hype won't stop. Auburn in the Iron Bowl this weekend, taking it to the top. Sydney Babb calling plays like a coach on site.
Okay.
See you in 2 weeks, same time, same night.
Okay.
Good
No,
night,
that
and
was-
War Eagle. And Dylan, I guess I'm coming for your job.